So today we have an SMC Oscar 1. So that's one of those. With the tiny little meter which you need an electron microscope to look at. So what's happened is the customers managed to break the power socket, which is the uniden type on this type of radio. So we'll pop this open. We're going to have to make a mic up for these unless there's one kicking around on this bench because they're 5-pinned in. And usually you've got... Oh! I could have sworn on a stack of Bibles these were 5-pinned in. Right, oh, it's not on that list. I was going to say the Barracuda HP 940 and the Binatone Speedway used 5-pin. I thought these did. What on earth is this? Does this mean I've got to look up what a TDA 1001 does? Okay. I just don't know what's going on. This is the receive IF. I will mention at this point that anyone who's wanting to collect CB radios with a view to them increasing in value, which is certainly something that's happened over the last few years. You know, there was a time when you could buy... I bought a virtually new in the box a Midland 4001 for $14.99 about 12 years ago, and that wouldn't be that kind of price today. You know, there was a time when you could get any number of different sets for under a £5, and you know, you're hard pushed to get anything under 30 quid these days. The trouble is, when they're being modified, I'm sure they should be 5-pinned in. It may you may think that's useful, but it's, you know, it's like changing the car radio on a car. You know, you say, oh, I've got this 1937 Rolls Royce, and where the valve car radio would be, we've cut it out with a hacksaw and we've got a CD player in there. Well, you know, that's spoilt it, hasn't it? And I think this is spoilt. I may have to open up one of our own sets here to see what's actually going on. Right, so here's how it should be. 5-pinned in. factory mic. It's the same as the Tate one, isn't it, that? And it does have the Uniden type power connector on the back. So we'll go inside our one later. But I'll tell you what, we'll service mine. That's one that's coming in a batch of stuff I bought. So we'll service mine at the same time. So we'll do two together. I'm going to have to get rid of that. If it's something to do with audio speech processing, well, the radio has speech processing already. So why would you want to do that? All this kind of speech processing idea, if I'm right, and that's what it is a kind of a throwback to the American AM sets, which didn't have speech processing, and the more talk power the better the range, when all the UK sets had to have speech processing. It was one of the things. So it's just bizarre. Anyway, I don't know what it is. Perhaps it's something to do with squelch. It seems to be going somewhere down there in the receive, but the immediate job is to get this this power connector dealt with. Hopefully we'll find a scrap chassis with a suitable connector on, because obviously I can't buy a replacement one. And the trouble is, most of the sets we buy is scrap, because we don't generate scrap, we buy scrap. See, here's a set. And that would have been a candidate where we've got enough of it which to include a power connector had it had one. But a lot of the time when we're buying scrap sets, we're just buying the printed circuit board. You know, people flog the knobs on eBay, they flog the fronts on eBay, they flog the meters on eBay, and then they flog the rest of it, and we end up buying the rest of it because that's the useful bit to us. Now, there's a Uniden down here which is in one piece, but I don't know why it's here. So that's got a socket on it, but I don't know that, although it's in the scrap pile, I don't know why. I'm going to have to check the serial number of the radio to see as to why. And I can see another Uniden. See, this other Uniden's already had the socket pinched. Anyway, I'll take this out and we'll come back to the video when I've done something. Okay, so we open my setup and mine is a disaster area. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. We've got that board, which is obviously messing about with the channels, and we've got... Right, I've been burbling away to me. I don't think we've been recording. So we've just popped that board out, and we'll concentrate on seeing if we can get the transmitter to work. So if I put picture in picture on, it's not on the right camera. There we go. We've got transmit. What I was saying is that these have got an extra receive circuit, so although you think this is quite a simple set on off volume squelch, it has the extra receive circuit that the Rotel 240 has, and the York 863 has, and the Harvard 420M has. Right, well, I've just had to reset the solid state video recorder we use here. Memory card has had a long reformat taking 90 minutes. So let's hope that's fixed whatever the issue was. Bring back tapes. Just let me get my cameras in the right order again. Oh, right. So I'm going to check it's still on frequency. So it's a bit high now, so we'll just pop that right. In the meantime, I've got a fully working one of these out of storage. There we go, 791267, that's fine. So we need to check that low power is working. Switch it to low power and it should be now 0.4 of a watt. Put that camera on. It's 0.35. We'll adjust the preset. .4. Back to normal power, buying full 4 watts. Now we'll check the meter. So with the adjustment there, let's see if we can actually see this meter. So key it up. That's now between the 3 and 5. See if we can actually zoom in on that. Not sure we can go that close. Go back to normal. Deviation. 1, 2. Right, we don't have any transmitted audio. So why would that be? So before retuning the meter, mod meter, we'll put it on our little handheld. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. 1 2, no audio. So that could well be what our little board there was. So we'll come back to that. I've just set this deviation to where we want it to be though. So I want that one to central position. One, two, 1 2, 1 2. 1 2. No, there's no trans. But that's probably what that's all about. So we'll leave that for later when we've pieced it together. And go on to receive. So we'll put 2779125 into the signal generator, which is channel 20. Can't actually hear any receive, so I thought that was going to be squelch, that missing bit. So absolutely nothing. So we're getting full scale deflection on the meter. So it must be squelched. There must be something else which is causing there to be no transmitted audio. Now I won't be able to finish this today because I probably mentioned earlier, I don't know what's recorded and what hasn't, mentioned earlier about this socket. I've ordered a replacement. So what we'll do is we'll open up a third one of these. So this is one of mine that is our worker. We these days have black screws. I did this some years ago, so we can replace those wrong screws while this one's in bits. So we want the bottom lid off today, which that screwdriver doesn't fit. Okay, so that's one that's in one piece. God, that's taken some doing, hasn't it, to find one it's actually in one piece. So we'll turn this off, disconnect the power, and then we can start seeing what's happened. This is why we have one of each set, so that this can be fixed. Oh, we got that 100k resistor to put back, hadn't we? I'll go and get one. Right, we'll just solder this in. Let's see what other differences there are. So this grey wire I'm going to have to take this front off for safety because it's going to end up getting damaged with the soldering iron. The terminals are right back there. I'm sure this is going to be a very nice radio when we've actually done with it. So moving on to Saturday, and we actually need a small precision screwdriver, the kind of thing you'd put your glasses back together with, to get to these little grub screws which are in the outer of these concentric knobs. Now that one came off easily, like fell off, and this one I'm going to have to unscrew. There we go. It's taken me 3 days to get that done. Now I feel safe that we're not going to get the soldering iron touching any plastic on this edge, which would be most unprofessional. So looking at our other set, we have what? Grey to the top. Black, grey, pink, white, something like that. So let's get rid of that blue wire. It'll be that white one. Let's just trace where it goes without pulling out the wiring harness. You see that one? Yes, it's that one. Just check with our own set. Yeah, it's that one. We'll just trim that a bit because it's a bit gnarled up. And solder that. I'm going to have to turn down the background music system. It's louder than it should be in here. The speakers have attenuators on them, and when we're recording I keep it down to 1. I don't turn it off because the doorbell and radio system run through it. I need to keep an eye on that, or an ear even. So the white one, I'll just tin the actual potentiometer tag. Just can't quite get my enormous fingers in there. I think we'll try and hold it from the other side. As a try. Goes without saying I'm doing the hardest one first. So that's on. So now the grey one. So we'll tin the bit of wire and then the tag. Again, we'll tidy up that a bit. Should be able to do all that from this side. Yes. Right, so we'll find out what we've actually done and what needs doing. We've got the 5-pin DIN sockets now arrived. So but I want the set to be working. Right, so having soldered all these things back on, we now have a squelch that looks like it works. And we go over to picture in picture and press the right camera. Wallow, 1, 2, we've got transmitted audio. So that's fixed both problems in one fell swoop. I'll tell you what, we'll start with the transmitted audio. So, we want the... might gain one in the centre, I've always found. There is a procedure in the service manual which is rather long-winded and wouldn't give me quite the result I'm looking for, because they're wanting the deviation much lower than is required in the UK. So it's a bit high. It's 3.3. So set that to 2.5 and see whether that's about right. Wallow, 1, 2, wallow. Just that fraction bit too high. Hello, we've gone off. That's better. Wallow, 1, 2, wallow. So that's that done. So that was the only thing we needed to tread backwards on with regard to the transmit. So now let's look at the receive. So I need to have 2779125 once again on the signal generator. And this time we can hear it coming through, and it's opened the squelch. Right, let's see if we can set the squelch now. I think I've got a problem with the memory stick on this solid state video recorder which I use. So I'm sorry this is going in and out. I think we're going to have to order a replacement memory stick. See if we can make it all the way through this particular part. So with 100 microvolts, well, we'll turn that signal generator down, we'll put the squelch to full, and I want, as usual, for the squelch to open with 100 microvolts. But it's opening with 10, so we just need to strengthen that up a bit. Unless they've removed the preset. So that's now coming into 100 microvolts, which is where I want it to be. If I show you the attenuator, that's 30, that's 100, it's coming in back to 30, it's not. So now putting the attenuator to standby, to 0.3 of a microvolt, and then putting it to standby, we'll turn the signal generator down, we'll turn the radio squelch down, set threshold, that's threshold. Now switch the signal generator on, remembering its parts at 0.3 of a microvolt. It's come straight in. So this radio is coming in at 0.9 of a microvolt, leaving it 0.8. So I know they're a bit clunky on these sets, but putting an additional squelch in, I don't think was the ideal thing. There's a bit of noise on that volume control, and that's this outer one. Now I obviously can't replace these. Anyway, it seems to be working. So as far as the set goes, that's now working. Did we do S9? I don't think we did on the meter. So while it's got its clothes off, we need to be able to see S9. So before we put it back together, the 5-pin DIN sockets arrived. So we now know the radio's tuned, it's working a treat. We'll get that back to 5-pin DIN, and we can make up a mic for the customer, and it'll be back to factory standard, which is what we all want. You know, I just said a bit back that I didn't have a circuit for the SM Oscar 1 CB27, and I do, of course I do, because the instruction book that came with this is second to none. So I'll show you a bit more of the instruction book. I've just printed a copy off and spiral bound it. Remembering these sets were sold by SMC South Midlands Communications. They were the importers for Yaesu equipment, and so it was an amateur radio shop. So the Oscar CBM271 was aimed at radio amateurs who wanted a citizens band radio. So they didn't want a trashy one, even though the SMC Oscar 2 could easily be seen as being that, but the Oscar 1 is superb, and so is the instruction book that comes with it, with a circuit diagram and a layout and a parts list and so on. It's one of the best manuals around, which comes with a set. I've no doubt that a full service manual would have been available, but I failed to purchase one at the time. So with that information, we have the pinout as per manual for the chassis socket on the radio, and what decoupling capacitors need to be fitted to that. Now, when I took out the 4-pin connector, there were 2 of the decoupling capacitors. So we've got 0.01, we've got 4700 picofarads. The other 4700 picofarads was missing, so I've supplied that. So if you start missing these out, this is where you're going to end up with RF breakthrough coming through when you transmit. You know, you get that hum like you do on the Murphy. Right, I think we won't screw it in yet. I've got to make sure I'm putting this in the right way round. So our sample set here, we've got the set upside down, so it's speaker lid towards me, and the 5-pin DIN is like that. So we present it on the floor like that. So I need to be putting it in like that. So I don't know whether do we screw it in at this point or do we wire it at this point. I think we'll screw it in, otherwise it'll be all over the place. So with a very expensive RS nut and bolt kit, that we shall do. Now it's going to have been M3 originally. Have we got M3? We've got M3. So I'll get on with this. We'll come back to the video. Right, so we're putting it back together now. That is wired in and screwed in with the M3 nuts, bolts, wired, and as you saw, we did all those decoupling capacitors first. So putting these knobs back on, I've not had to ever do this before. So, what am I doing? I'm trying to put it on that. So this one is a switch, and we can see where it's been before, and they need to be put in that's going to be center position. So that's tight, and we need. So we're going to plug in my SMC Oscar mic because we know that's correct. I don't want to wire up a mic, make a mistake, and then you think, have I wired that wrongly? Have I wired the radio wrongly? So once again, we'll plug everything back in, and we need to tune the receiver, which I forgot to do. It's because it's been done over so many days, this video. I mean, I said to Mr. Chippy we won't be doing any CB repairs this week, but I thought better of it, otherwise I'm not being helpful to people, and so it is one a week. Right, power it up. Power supply on. That's working a treat. Check transmit. Not got transmit. Why would that be? Well, we'll come back to that. That's we'll do the receiver, which is what we're here to do. I probably put a wire on the wrong place, which is why we're doing it like this. So we'll drop the attenuator, we'll switch the squelch to nothing, and we'll put the SINAD meter on, the oscilloscope on. If you think there's gaps in this video, there's a fault on the memory card, and I'm having to take this in 2-minute snippets, and I'm having to keep looking at the solid state video recorders to see if it's actually doing anything. Newer these things are, it's like CB radios, isn't it? If only YouTube could see my broadcast format, which I used to use, which it used to commute to 360p. It wasn't 360p, but it was a broadcast format. Anyway, I digress. So we want the oscilloscope on here. We want an S9 equivalent signal of 100 microvolts. We'll pop the bench light off, and we'll just make sure that this is set to maximum recovered audio. And it was. So no problem there. We'll go over to SINAD meter. drop the attenuator. Let's have a look at what it's doing. It's brilliant. Without adjustment, it's doing 0.46 microvolts. So let's try and remember that. I don't expect I'm going to improve it, but I must go through the motions of doing my best. Oh, well, astonishingly, that's made a huge improvement. Pop that up, do these IFs. Okay, let's read off what we've got now. We've now got 0.29. 0.29, so we have improved it. That's fantastic. Show you the attenuator controls. So it's 0.3, 0.25, 6, 7, 8, 9, just under the 0.3. That's really, really good result. Best of the best. And remember, these were aimed at the discerning radio amateur who wanted a UK legal set. And so we've got this rather... I'll just bring this camera out a bit. I've got my eye on this solid state recorder. So we've got the frequency list as you'd expect, general description, the controls, all what you expect. It says the radio is 2 watts audio output to an external speaker, not to the internal one. Like most sets, it's probably half a watt to the internal one. Different types of mounts for aerials, and that the SWR and what the ratio of like at 1.5, it's 96% going out. You know, this is why you don't that much bother about exactly 1-to-1. How to use it as a base station, buying their RU120406 power supply. How to install it. Operating instructions. Safety, suppression for when you've got that nasty whining noise. Going into suppression details. And then we've got the specification, and what do they say it should do? Receiver should be doing. They said 0.19. Well, we haven't got it that good, so I think that was an exception. In fact, I'm sure Radio Cruncher has also not seen one do 0.19, but we've seen 0.22 on this chassis. So, block diagram, layout, circuit diagram, adjustment layout, subboards, component list. So for an instruction book, that is absolutely 10 out of 10. I just need to find out why I haven't got transmit now. I must have wired something wrongly. Right, well, I got to the bottom of that. I got the grey. No, I hadn't. I got the brown and the green wires the wrong way around. So I've soon rectified that. Now that radio is working fine on the SMC microphone. So now we're going to make up a microphone for the radio. So using the high quality metal DIN plugs, I've put the back bit on, otherwise it's a frustrating thing when you've got to unsolder it to put that bit on later. Been there, done that, had the t-shirt. So it's not on my sheet what the pinout of this is, so I'm going to have to work from the instruction book which I've shown you, from the circuit diagram in there. Sorry about these bits and pieces. This memory card, I must get a replacement before we do the next video. So we're now, that is configured, and it's going to fit Binatone Speedway, it's going to fit Barracuda HP940, it's going to fit Sapphire X4000. In other words, the Cybrernet sets that use a 5-pin DIN. So we've got the high quality metal plug, that's going to go in there. We've got transmit if we switch on. We've got receive. Wallow. I actually need to redo the deviation because it's actually different to the mic I was using. So I'll just brush up on that. Wallow. Still wants a bit more. Wallow. That's too much. Wallow. That's it. There we go. Right, that's it. Put the lids on. What a marathon. All that unnecessary work, all by people doing silly things. But we've got a great result, and it's a fantastic working set. So put the lids on, we'll get it on the aerial. And there we have it. New screws because they were painted, 5-pin DIN socket, 5-pin DIN mic, and we will get this on the aerial, which, as I've said a million times before, is an Antron 99, and it is mounted just above gutter level on a single-story building without the optional ground plane kit. It is earthed, as it says in the instructions to do so. So let's switch on and see if this memory card actually holds out. 1 on a Roger.
You pick me up, I'll show you.
1 9 a Roger.